Welcome to Quora Anonymous. If this is your first time and you like the video, please like and subscribe. If you would like to read along, turn on closed captioning with the 3 dots in the upper right corner. Now, let's begin. What is your dirtiest sexual experience as an adult? It was 2 years back. He had just gone through a breakup and was not looking for anything serious, just meeting new people and making friends. Was feeling low and lonely, so a girlfriend of mine introduced me to a cute girl over WhatsApp. She told me the girl is 22 years old. We chatted few days. She seemed cute though she was much younger to me, but I just wanted to go out with new fresh person. Well, at this time I was 50 years but looked good, so women were attracted to me. I did not think much, it was just refreshing to chat with young innocent person. I was setting up a startup, so daytime was work, then evenings were lonely, so I would chat with her. She lived 1 hour away from Delhi, ahead of Gurgaon. She was a student still, so it was odd, but just went with the flow. Point, I was not expecting anything, so it was fine. Then we decided to meet. I was burned and tired with work, so I took 2 weekdays off and decided to check in, sit a resort near her. Thought we'll meet her and take break. She bunked college, I bunked office. It had started to feel little strange. So D-Day I reached to pick her up. This was a kid. I froze. Asked her, how old are you? Point, she said 18. I was no, show me her right eye, I look young. I'm not dating a kid, please, so all due diligence done. She was 18, about to be 19 years, in first year college. Now we went to the resort, my room. Point, lol. I put on some music, wanted her to enjoy, started dancing. I kissed her. Whoops, she didn't know how to. I stopped. Have you had a boyfriend before? She, yes. Did he teach you nothing? She, he knew nothing. Oh, let me teach you how to kiss. Kissed. It was nice. I tried to forget the age. We hugged and got into bed. She was getting aroused and horny. Our clothes went flying with music. I stopped and asked, have you done this before? She, no, I'm virgin. Oh god, I had a awakening moment. She is 18, I'm 50. She is virgin, I am not, but you know dick, it refuses reason. Point, I asked, you sure you want to? She, point, yes, really want to. But that moment I grew up. I said, no baby, no, I don't want to be a mistake in your life. I will love it today, but curse me 5 years later. First time do it with man you love and at me. I'm no priest, I like fun, I enjoy company of girls, but I realized I had soul. I went down on her and made her come. Point, but stopped the theater, taught her to kiss. Point, learned to control. Dropped her back after evening tea. Point, we still sometimes chat, some to mess, but we never met after this. This was my contribution to World of Virgins. I'm a 20-year young girl. I have a brother of about 15 years old. We both were sleeping on the room on double bed. From last several months I'm noticing that my brother has eyes on me every time. I didn't understood why he is doing so. His eyes were most of the time on my boobs. He see my cleavage. After seeing all this, I understand that my brother is now in puberty stage and that's why he is attracted towards female body. But the problem is that I don't know how to deal with this problem. After thinking for some time, I decided I should show him my boobs so that his excitement towards female body will decrease and he will know about all this. That's why one evening, when he was talking with me, suddenly I asked him why your eyes were always on my boobs. Listening to this, he totally become shocked and don't have words to say. Then I told him it is normal, and coming to puberty stage all boys attract towards female boobs and have curiosity to see. That's why I decided to help you show my boobs to you. After listening this, he is totally shocked and saying, are you serious? Then I said yes, and I removed my t-shirt. After removing my shirt, I removed my bra. Now my 35D boobs are visible to my brother's eyes. Want to know what my brother first word after seeing them? He said, can I touch them? I started lodging and told him yes you can. Then he touched my boobs and started pressing for some time. After this I wear my bra and shirt. My brother was too happy after touching them and telling thanks to me. I'm also happy for helping my brother. Next day, what my brother said I can't tell here. I'm a girl with an ugly face and introvert nature. When I was 21 my weight was just 39 kilograms. I have dark skin, big pointed nose and lots of acne on my face. I always introvert from my childhood, but my weight and pimple make my confidence very poor. When I become young I had never fall in love till I finished my bachelor level of education. I was 21 years when I finished my bachelor and got a job as a science teacher in my own town. At that time I met a guy on internet. He was also from my town, but was living out of country at that time. I had heard about a lot of bad stuffs about him by my friends and brothers, but never met or talked with him. He also had never saw me before we started to chat and talk through internet. Day by day we got attracted and addicted to talk with each other. He used to tell me all the stuffs that he'd done in a day, and I also used to share about my work, family, friends with him. We used to talk 5,6 hours in night. Sometimes we started to talk at 5 p.m. and used to keep talking to 5 p.m. Whole 12 hours. He used to give me good night kiss on phone when I was going to sleep. We were very happy and we thought that we love each other, and I always used to think that I will going to spend my whole life with him. After 2 years he came to meet me. I was so excited at that time. I spent my whole day in a parlor to become beautiful, but when I met him all things changed drastically. He didn't seem so happy and excited after we met, since I'm not looked like what he expect, but we still keep talking. After few days he again came over the same place where I was living. At that time I was staying in a girls hostel for my study far from my home. He stayed in a hotel since he had some work to do there. I went to meet him. We stay in a hotel room for a whole day since he did not want to walk out with me, a ugly girl. I also spent a night with him. I have never touched any other guy before that. I don't know how, but I got unconscious after few sip of drinks at that night, and when I wake up I found me lying on a bed nude. He was also lying on another bed. I can't remember what happened at that night, how I suddenly lost my consciousness after only few sip of drink, why he was sleeping on another bed. I don't know how I became naked. After this incident he started to ignore me. He didn't pick up my phone and start to get irritated. Then slowly I stopped calling him, and my first love lust story end. Now I have good health and appropriate weight. I did treatment of my acne and my skin is clear. I also completed my master degree and happily married with a guy who loved me despite of anything else. I was a subcontractor on a construction job on an island in the US. The contractor was an Iranian man who was an ass and made everything difficult. The only link to the mainland was a drawbridge. It broke one afternoon and the rumors were that it will be 6 to 8 hours before it was fixed. I finished my workday and got in my car when the phone rang. Thus was before cell phone, when cars with a phone had a curly antenna on the back window. It was the contractor calling in a panic. His wife was caught on the island in the construction trailer and was stranded. He knew I lived on the island and wanted to know if I could find someone with a boat to bring his wife to the mainland. I said I had a boat and could do it. He said he would pay me a very generous sum. I went to the trailer and told her the plan and called him so he could tell her. She seemed terrified to get in my car, but we drove to my house and hooked the boat up. As we drove to the marina, she peppered me with questions about sinking and about sharks and things. She reluctantly got in the boat, and she was obviously close to panic. She said she couldn't swim and had never been in a boat. I used a very bright spotlight to exit the marina, and when we were clear, turned it off and sped the boat up on a plane. She went nuts when I killed the light. How could I see? I tried to show her how the moonlight's reflection on the water was better than the spotlight. She moved closer to here, and somehow she ended up against me with my arms around her on the wheel. I could feel her trembling, and we rode that way for a time. Then she said she had never been so excited and was feeling a thrill. I was getting an erection and trying not to let her feel it. She looked into my eyes and held the gaze as her hand moved between us and found my erection and her hand encircled it. Her eyes were misty and she held my eyes and said, "Please." I stopped the boat and pulled to a small cove. When I came back from dropping the anchor, she was reclined on one of the seats. She stared at me and said it again, "Please." She didn't wear a headscarf, but wore a robe that covered to her feet. I uncovered the top and worked down. As it came open, she was beautiful, and I told her. She said that her husband didn't think she was attractive and only did it in darkness to satisfy himself. In the moonlight, her body was gorgeous. I kissed her breast, and she was squealing with pleasure. When I moved down, she was bouncing and shrieking. Soon, she was pulling me up and nearly ripped my shorts off. When I entered her, she was amazing. She was clutching and urging and arching her back. She was the most hungry lover I've ever had. She came and screamed with it. When I was ready to come, I started to pull out, but she pulled me deep and said to do it in her. When we finished, we lay for a while. Then she asked if she could look at me. Her tiny warm hands fondled and caressed, and I was hard again soon. She said her husband tried to get her to suck him, but he was so unkind, she wouldn't. Her mouth took me, and she seemed to giggle as she tried to go down. I asked, so she was kneeling on the deck with her legs apart, and her upper body on the seat, and entered her from behind. I was probably 12 or 13. We lived in a rural area with plenty of woods and fields. There was a long trail that led to a field many of the kids would hang out at. I was walking up the trail with the sister of one of my friends. She was about the same age. About halfway I had to take a piss and stopped to do just that off the trail. At this point she made a comment about how lucky us boys were at being able to accomplish this task so easily. She then asked if she could hold it while I peed to see what it was like. There was actually nothing sexual about it. I didn't know or think about sex and girls in that way at that time. I said sure, and she got behind me and proceeded to spray my pee around laughing all the time. Halfway through I started to get an erection. I had many erections in my life at that point. It was something that just happened and didn't feel good or bad. I actually never thought much about it. She said, "What the heck is that?" and I gave her that explanation. When it came to the end I told her she had to shake it to get the last drops out. She kind of squeezed it down toward the tip a few times to force the last drops out. I got this strange feeling that I might have to pee again when she was doing this, and told her so. She did it 3 or 4 more times and suddenly I started shooting stuff at a pretty good distance. After about 4 or 5 shots I nearly fell over. I had no idea what just happened, just that it was really amazing and felt great. She said, "What the heck was that?" I said I had no idea, and it was the truth. I knew it wasn't pee because it was white, thicker, and I had to use a leaf to clean it off my dick. I asked some of my friends about it later, and they clued me in. Man, did my life change in that moment. My friend's sister and I never spoke of it again, but it is something I will always remember. Mike and Fran were neighbors in the apartment next door. When they were moving in, I helped and we became friends. I was single and worked from home. Over time we would visit each other, play cards or go out to eat. Around Christmas time, they were planning a party and invited me. There were several people there, mostly Mike's co-workers. The alcohol was flowing and everyone seemed to be having a good time, except Fran. I followed her into the kitchen as she was getting some party snacks. I asked her what was wrong, and she looked at me with tear-filled eyes and said that Mike was just being mean to her and she had caught him being too friendly with one of his female co-workers. She then thanked me for listening and planted a kiss on my lips. I helped her bring snacks out, and we mingled amongst the guests. I found Mike talking to a nice-looking redhead, and when they saw me walking over, they became silent and smiled at me. Mike introduced me to Alex as his co-worker. Both appeared to be well under the influence and had slurred speech. I made some small talk and then moved around speaking to other guests. Around midnight, people started leaving. I was helping Fran, and I could tell she was not happy. I saw why. Mike was helping Alex with her coat, but his hands were wandering, and when he said his goodbyes to her, there was a long lingering kiss. After the last guest left, Mike had a glass half filled with bourbon and he gulped it down. He sat on the sofa and quickly passed out. I brought some dishes and glasses into the kitchen and found Fran there crying. I patted her shoulder and told her that if she needed to talk or anything to call or come over. Fran hugged me and I left. About 45 minutes later I got a text from Fran asking if I was still awake. I replied yes, and she asked if she could come over. I told her sure, and that the door was unlocked. Fran was there in 5 minutes, and I could tell she had been crying. I offered her some coffee and told her make herself comfortable. Over coffee, Fran told me that she thought Mike was cheating on her with Alex, and that she was sure it had been going on for a while. Fran said that she had seen some texts between them. I asked her what she was going to do, and she said she wasn't sure. She then asked if she could stay at my place for the night. I told her sure, and offered her my room. I got an extra pillow and blanket, and said I would stay on the sofa. Fran went into my room, and I heard the shower start. I stripped down to my boxers, and got comfortable on the sofa. I was dozing off when I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Fran, wrapped in a towel, telling me she felt bad about me sleeping on the sofa, and would I come to bed. She insisted and I did. In the room, she dropped the towel, and I got a look at a nice body and perky boobs. She got under the sheets and told me to hurry. I laid next to her, and she turned towards me, rubbing her soft warm skin on me. She asked me if I thought she was attractive, and I told her yes. She then asked me to make love to her point, and I did. Okay, here it goes. I'm a 16-year-old boy. Puberty hit me when I was in 5th standard, 10 years old. I started watching a lot of porn and masturbating 4 to 5 times a day. I didn't even knew what it was, but I feel good. I didn't even ejaculated, yet I masturbated. I was very fond of older woman's body. Their boobs gave me pleasure. It all started when I was in 7th grade. My aunt was talking to me. We both were in one room and she lying in front of me. Her huge cleavage was visible. I got an instant boner. She thought I was a child and she didn't have to sit properly for that. From that day I liked MILFs. I masturbated so hard imagining her cleavage and first time ejaculated. I was shocked to see my semen and thought something's wrong. When I masturbated before, I only got the feeling but never ejaculated. Only I had was something sticky on top on my penis. Then I slowly came to know about sperms and stuff. Fast forward to mid of 8th grade. I again went in my aunt's room, and she was lying down. I slept beside of her, and we started to talk. I never did that before. Slowly getting closer I touched her boobs. She thought I was asleep. Her boobs felt so soft, and I actually wanted to fuck her. I took the feel until stood and walked away. Again I masturbated. Since then whenever she lied in her stomach, I used to click pictures or take video of her cleavage and then masturbate watching that. I also got dreams of her giving me blowjob and had nightfall. Her boobs were big. When I got into 9th standard, I thought of a plan. I desperately wanted to see her body nude. I downloaded an application named "secret video recorder", which recorded the videos without turning on the camera. She used to change into her nightdress around 9 PM, and that was the time when I had to hide my phone in her bedroom. I used to estimate the time when she would change, and according to that I put my phone is charging slanted on the window, such that camera covers the bedroom. 2 to 3 attempts I failed to record as she used to change inside her bathroom. I never stopped though. One final day I captured her topless. Her hairy pussy was also visible. The boobs were big enough to give man enough pleasure. That night I masturbated around 10 times watching that. That video was so hot that it was the first time I ejaculated so much of semen. I hid that video and masturbated often using it for a month or so. Then I started to feel guilty about that. Thought if my mom and dad came to know, I would be thrown out of the house. I courageously deleted that permanently. I couldn't bear the guilt that I'm such a big pervert. But the next day, when testosterone kicked in, I wanted that video. Now I was feeling guilty of deleting it. I console myself that I was doing a bad thing and had to stop immediately. I desperately wanted to make another one. But I controlled myself and thought enough is enough. Her boobs and ass still fascinates me, but now I can control myself. I still regret deleting the video, because what I lost was probably the thing I saw last time in my lifetime. Now I'm making another plan to get her drunk, then when she sleeps I can feel her boobs and such them. But that's never gonna happen. I know you're thinking that I'm perverted or doesn't control my horny feeling. I think you're right. But I've tried to change, trust me. This is the thing I've never told anyone in my life, but now after posting this, I'm feeling a lot more lighter. The first time I watched porn was when I was 7 years old, together with my little brother and his friend. The first time I ever saw sex was a chick getting drilled by 2 black guys. We soon found it boring. At that age, a friend of mine, who was a really bad influence, had already taught me a lot of bad words, like F***, SH**IT, WH**RE, ass, things like that, and used those words to tell me about the birds and the bees. When I was about 11 or 12 years old, I was really depressed, socially isolated, and self-conscious. This was also around the time I got my first proper phone. I installed an app called Whisper, on which you can anonymously share secrets and message others. There I had contact to a lot of older men, who would often ask for selfies. Over time, I was willing to send them more than just pictures of my face. They wanted pictures of my, not yet existent, boobs and my butt, and sent me naked pictures of themselves in return. For the first time I felt like I was attractive, and that somebody desired me. I sexted dozens of men in the next few years, a lot of whom were in their 30s or older. And it took me very long to realize how F***CKED up that really was, and how much I was being taken advantage of. Anyway, as I got older, my depression got better. At around 14, I cut off almost all the remaining contacts I had from that time. I was more confident, and felt like I didn't need to engage in this online prostitution anymore to feel good about myself and my body. Still, although my confidence remained fine, I was very isolated, with no contact to anybody except my best friend, my mother, and my classmates. My hormones were still raging, and I had little to no chance of finding a sexual partner. I know, some people are gonna say you're way too young to think about that. When I was your age I still built tree houses, and I too thought that, but still I felt unhappy with my situation. It was bearable during summer, but now that the seasonal depression hit, 2 years later, I decided to make an account on a dating site. Soon enough, I again had an inbox full of older guys in their 20s, willing to get intimate with me. I've settled with one, and feel much happier than before. However, I also realized I never really learned how to interact with men in a non-sexual way. The only way I talked to guys online was usually about sex, and that's all they ever wanted from little me. Also, I've become addicted to porn during my early teenage years. I've become so used to porn that the only porn that gets me excited is usually some really messed up and vile stuff. I've stopped watching it, but it's still hard to get aroused. I don't really care who I lose my virginity to, or who I sleep with in general. I didn't mind giving a blowjob just the second time I met him. Sex has become more about pleasure and personal fulfillment than about love or intimacy. And I think those bad influences from when I was a kid played a huge role in shaping my views and morals when it comes to sex. This summer, me and my boyfriend were on holiday in Sardinia with another 4 people. This one day, we went to a very nice beach, one of those small bays with rocks all around. Our friends went out exploring the rocks behind the beach, and said there was a super nice view from there. So, my boyfriend asked me to go check it out too, and perhaps take some pictures. We started climbing the rocks, and got to a very secluded place. We looked at each other and already knew. My boyfriend has always told me how much he likes the idea of having sex in public and odd places, but I was always too scared to be caught. This time though, I was in to surprise him. So after looking around, I leaned on a smaller rock and pushed him against my body. In no time, he was inside of me, going at it quite roughly. It was amazing. It was my first time having sex in public during the day, and we knew anybody could walk on us suddenly. So he kept looking around while he kept doing me. At a certain point, he turned suddenly and said, "There it is." He pulled out, as I saw a man climbing the rocks in the distance. I'm not sure he didn't see us, but I guess if he did, he would have walked back. We pretended we were sitting and chilling, while we laughed hard. It was such an amazing experience, and I'm glad I'm part of the weirdest place you have had sex now for him too. If you made it this far, you owe it to yourself to subscribe.